Welcome back, high school hockey fans, for this week's edition of This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey. I'm Mike Hammett, along with the usual panel of Dan Bauer, Bill Berg, and Bill Berg Jr. Let's jump into things right away. Games of the week last week. Dan, you traveled, got to see Arrowhead and USM, two Milwaukee area teams getting together for the girls' game of the week. What do you got?
All right, yeah, Friday made the trip down to Uline Ice Arena, River Hills, on the campus of University School Milwaukee, which, if you haven't been there, is a beautiful place and it's a great rink. Arguably the cleanest glass in the state. It's like very nice for taking pictures and watching. Very well taken care of arena. Two teams kind of heading in different directions. USM has been on a pretty good streak. They're 5-1-1 their last 7 games, while Arrowhead was 1-9-1 in their last 11. Arrowhead came into the game, according to their coach, basically missing their entire second line due to injuries. So on the surface, didn't look like it was probably going to be a great hockey game, but it turned out to be a really good hockey game. The first period, both teams up and down the ice, very evenly matched. Arrowhead outshot U School 8-6, but again, like I said, very close period. The first period, no score. Second period looked like was going to wind up exactly the same. No score until late in the period. And Arrowhead went on a power play, and Quinn Halverson took a beautiful Royal Road pass right from top of the circle to top of the circle and caught and got rid of it quickly and scored for Arrowhead to put them up 1-0. That goal came with just 16 seconds left in the period. So pretty big goal momentum wise for Arrowhead. They take a 1-0 lead into the locker room after the second period. USM outshot Arrowhead 13-11 in the second period, but almost exactly, it was exactly even at the break as far as shots go. Third period, USM came out really hard, controlled, I thought, the play for probably the first 3-4 minutes, spent most of the time in the Arrowhead end, and finally got their first goal of the game. Reese Caulfield from the blue line through some traffic. Not sure how well Kennedy Bostrom was able to see that shot or not, but he got through, got into the net. That was Caulfield's first goal of the year. That tied the game at 1-1. Arrowhead went back up 2-1. Allie Schuster got her seventh goal of the year on a breakaway. And it put a little bit of a, almost like a little bit of a Patrick Kane hesitation when she got to the goal mouth and just sort of waited for the goalie to slide, commit, go by, and then just slid it into the net. And that put Arrowhead up 2-1. And then we headed in late in the period. Looked like Arrowhead was maybe going to be able to pull this one out. University School took a timeout with just over 2 minutes to go in the game. And I was certain that they had drawn up a face-off play when I watched it, but their coach told me, no, I just told him to get the puck to the net. But off the draw, the puck got pushed to the corner. Both the center and the board wing attacked the puck, and Caroline Olson, who was the center wing, lined up on the center hash marks in between. She headed right for the back of the net from the backside. They pushed the puck down low. She picked it up, stepped above the goal line, and managed to get it through Bostrom's 5-hole to tie the game at 2-2. So a little bit of heroics there by Olson. That was her 10th goal of the year. And then we headed to overtime at the last 90 seconds or so of the third period. USM took a penalty. So Arrowhead got a short power play to end the game and then started the overtime with a 4-on-3 advantage. And Lucy Dubach came out of the penalty box in the overtime, took a perfect pass right at the red line and had a breakaway. Went in on Bostrom and went to her backhand. Bostrom stayed with her, made a nice blocker save. The game stayed tied. And then about a minute later, Warhawks defenseman had the puck uh, pushed out to her in the neutral zone, just outside the red line. And Olsen, like she had been doing all night, works really hard, going hard all the time, attacked the defenseman. She tried to slip it along the boards. It hit Olsen, ricocheted off in front of her, and she was off on a breakaway from about the blue line in. She got just inside the left dot and let a wrist shot fly to the far side, top corner. And that was the game winner, her 11th of the year. And USM escaped with a 3-2 win. But yeah, just an exciting game, good back and forth game. Obviously, could have gone either way. Both goalies played well. 26 saves for Bostrom for Arrowhead when it was all said and done. 24 saves for Carson Markgraf for USM. And a couple of impressive players caught my attention. Sophomore defenseman for Arrowhead, Emily Von Son. I thought she played a really strong game. Made that nice pass on that power play, but just not the biggest defenseman out there, but very positionally sound and does a good job of breaking up plays and stopping things in the defensive zone. Lucy Dubach, I thought, played a really hard game, really hard on the puck, great effort. And then this was my first look at sophomore Esme Lumens, who didn't play as a freshman, or I think she may have played like Capitals or something like that. But she's having a great year, and she looks like a really solid player. Again, just a sophomore. So USM finishes. They have a game to go yet, but they did finish up second in the Eastern Shores Conference at 8-3-1 behind Bay Area. They're 13-8-1 for the season, and they did manage to get the number 2 seed in Section 3, due mostly to their 2 wins over Lakeshore, who probably was destined for that 2 seed, but it was pretty hard to not put USM there. So great game, fun to watch. I also did catch 2 other games. Just will give you the scores. I watched Wisconsin Valley Union actually twice. Saw them at home defeat Pines on Tuesday, and then happened to be over in the Fox Cities area to watch my grandson and my daughter Emily's Lawrence team play. And so that evening, Fox Cities was playing WVU at Tri-County. Went over and watched that one. Fox Cities beat WVU 4-0. Fox City is a team to watch. They just lost 2-1 to Bay Area like a week ago or so, 10 days ago maybe. Good possibility those two could end up meeting again in the section final. So it was a fun week.
Sounds like a very busy week for you. Well, what do we got here? Let's go on to the boys' game of the week. Edgewood at Spash. Bill Jr., I'm sure this is one that Spash had circled on the calendar. Last year, they were the number 1 team for quite a while and didn't make the state tournament. Edgewood made it, and they won it all last year. So I would imagine that this game was going to be quite a battle.
It was quite a battle after the first period. Um, but it was a fast, a hard game for both teams. Unfortunately for Edgewood, they came out flat in the first period and they just weren't ready for Spash's speed. Um, Spash scored 3 goals in the first period, jumping out to that 3-0 lead, and it was a hole that Edgewood just couldn't dig themselves out of. The combination of Grant Molsky and Grady Miller was just too much in the first period, but all of Spash is incredibly fast, and they showed it in that first period. Miller and Molsky opened the scoring at the 3:03 mark when Miller just outraced an Edgewood defenseman to a puck dumped into the corner and hit a wide open Molsky in front, who had also gotten behind his defenseman. Molsky roofed it for the 1-0 lead. Just 3 minutes later, once again, those two teamed up for the next goal. Spash dumped the puck into the Edgewood zone just off of goal, and Molsky and an Edgewood defender both chased hard for the puck. And while they were jostling with each other, The Edgewood defender ended up spearing his own goalie in the head. The puck caromed off the end boards and went back through Molsky and that defender, and Miller knocked it in while the goalie was off balance. I asked Coach Rothering about that one, and he said, "Yeah, that's not where you want your stick to be if you're the defenseman." Knocking his own goalie in the head. And then Spash added a third one at the 15-minute mark. Zach Ostricki broke it out to Miller, who carried it up the far boards and right around center ice. He fired a pass to the blue line in the middle of the ice where Molsky was going full speed. Caught it with speed, walked around the Edgewood defenseman like he wasn't even there, and buried the shot to make it 3-0 fast. And I was thinking this was going to be like the early season game I saw Spash play where they dropped 9 on Notre Dame Academy. It was looking pretty rough. They outshot Edgewood 14-7 in the first period. I asked Coach Rothering about it, and he just said, we haven't had enough games at that pace. So, between the bus ride, the full week of games, and adjusting to their pace, they just weren't ready in the first period. But he was happy that it happened because that's a good thing to happen to get them ready for playoffs. Spash came out firing again in the second period. They scored just 139 into the second period. A battle in the corner. Teddy Westrick worked the puck up to Reed Molsky at the point, who went across to Ostricki, who fired it at the net and scored high on the glove side. I think that one hit an Edgewood defenseman on the way in, but I really couldn't tell. Um, that made it 4-0, and that seemed to wake up the Crusaders, who really kind of went on a roll after that for most of the rest of the second period, finally getting on the board at the 8:55 mark just after halfway through. Owen Barnett came through this neutral zone with speed and hit Owen Porter at the blue line. Porter gained the zone and slid it back to Barnett, who went all the way across the ice to Shane Fish for a backdoor one-timer on some nifty passing to make it 4-1. The Crusaders outshot Spash 13-9 in the second period, kind of flipping the script on the first period. But once again, Spash's speed was on display, scoring just 30 seconds into the third period to make it 5-1. Um, Jerome Poirier held in an Edgewood breakout attempt and dumped the puck down deep into the zone, where Miller stripped his defenseman and hit Molsky in the middle of the ice. He fired a rocket into the net for a hat trick to make it 5-1. Edgewood did work their way back with the next 2 goals at 3:39 and 12:06. The first was a power play goal. Owen Koch and Fish traded the puck along the blue line before Koch got it deep to Owen Porter in the corner, and Porter hit Will Rothering in front of the net for a one-timer, cutting it to 5-2. And then for the next goal, Sam Hartman was at the point, went across to Fish, who fired it on goal, and Carter Rosenberg tipped it up and over Spash goalie Zachary Burdick to make it 5-3. Unfortunately for the Crusaders, that's all that they would add, and Spash would add one more goal to make the final 6-3. In the end, Edgewood actually outshot Spash 35-32 with 15-9 and 13-9 advantages in the second and third period, but they just dug themselves too big a hole in the first period to stay in it. And Spash was just the second team this season to stop um, Owen Porter from scoring a goal.
And for Edgewood, that was their second loss of the season, both losses coming to Wisconsin Valley Conference teams.
Yeah, to Spash and Wausau West. I believe the West game was 6-4. And then after that game, there was a rescheduled game that I went to that I didn't know was actually going to happen this week. I just saw it on the schedule by chance. Um, DC Everest and Sun Prairie were supposed to play a couple weeks ago, but all school events were canceled that day because it was -27 up here. Uh, so they rescheduled that one for Saturday. DC Everest ended up beating Sun Prairie 2-1. I think the coolest part about that game was the fact that Mark Tauscher was there, and he still looks exactly like Mark Tauscher. His son is a freshman on the Sun Prairie team. So if you're a Packer fan, Green Heck Turner Community Center was a fun place to be on Saturday night.
I was talking to your esteemed photographer about that one goal in the Stevens Point game where the puck was going down and there was a Edgewood defenseman chasing after it and Molsky and Miller on his back. And Brett said, "Oh, that defenseman's screwed." And then he got a nice sequence of, one of those actually raping the defenseman in the corner and passing it to the other one and him scoring.
Yeah, that guy, Miller and Molsky are a just. I mean, they were last year too. They're just a dangerous combination out there on the ice for anybody else. They're so fast. They're so good with the puck. Molsky's shot is an absolute rocket. His one-timer goal in the third period, I watched that replay several times, and it's like one or two frames on the live barn recording of between when he takes the shot and when it's already back out of the net, like at the hash marks. It went in and out so hard. Um, it was just a rocket. That combination is fits for everybody.
All right. It sounds like we had some pretty good games of the week to talk about. Nice job, guys, reporting on those. The Quench Players of the Week, or Players of the Week, girls and boys. We have some pretty good representatives. Burglar, go ahead and tell them who's worthy of the awards this week.
Thanks, MJ. I think they're all worthy of the awards, but on any given week, anybody can have a particularly good week. But for this week, on the girls' side, Annika Mueller, goaltender for the Stoughton Icebergs, is our Quench Hydration Girls Player of the Week. On Tuesday, she had 36 saves and 2 goals allowed in a 2-1 loss to Janesville. On Thursday, she had 38 saves shutout, which is what it took to get a 1-0 win over the Metro Lynx. And she tried. On Saturday, she had 59 saves and gave up 2 goals. Uh, I think one of them was an empty netter in a loss, 2-0 loss to University School. So Annika Mueller kept her team in the games. She only got one win out of it, but she kept her team in all 3 games. Did get one shutout win, so she is our Quench Hydration Girls Player of the Week. And Dan says she keeps her team in the game all year long,
And I
every
think
game.
it's kind of interesting that all four nominees for Player of the Week on the girls' side this week were goalies. We also had Addie Oliver of Viroqua, Caitlin Gustafson of St. Croix Valley, and Cami Floor of the Central Wisconsin Storm. So it was a big week for goalies on the girls' side.
On the boys' side, we're going more with offense. Logan Doughton, I believe he is the leading scorer for Amory. He is a forward for the Amory Warriors. On Thursday, he had 3 assists and a 7-5 win over Ram hockey. And on Saturday, he had 3 goals and an assist and a 6-0 win over Mosinee. Um, we had a nice write-in campaign for a player on Waukesha. I don't remember his name. I wrote it down 3 times. But
Chance Wake.
huh?
Chance Wake.
Yes, and he had a 5-point game against somebody, but it was on the 31st of January, which was the week prior to this week in Wisconsin Prep. Our player of the week this week. So all three, I mean, the nominations all came in during the middle of this week, and it's like, yeah, that was last week. Sorry. It's always a good idea to get uh, a nominating, campaign, send us multiple nominations, different people. That's great. We don't mind at all. Um, it shows you're engaged and you're interested. So you were just late.
The
So
deadline really is Monday after the game happened. The first Monday after the game happened is
well, and
really the
then
deadline.
I think we put on the Player of the Week page that it is calendar week. Uh, Monday, Sunday through Saturday, but there's no games on Sundays unless it's a tournament. But yeah, that was last week. But anyway, good job, Logan Doughton, Annika Mueller. Quench Hydration Players of the Week.
And the game for you mentioned Addie Oliver, Verocco, I said 72 saves in that game that she was nominated for. I think that's the highest I've seen. Yeah, I think so. I think Leonard had 71 for Medford one game this year. So those two I think are at the top. And then Gustafson had a really good week. She beat Eau Claire, who was ranked third, and she beat the Storm, who was making a good push right now to get back in the top six. And she also leads the state with 18 wins. So she's having a really good year, probably putting herself in the conversation for all state recognition. And then Floor beat Black River Falls, beat Superior, gave up a goal in each of those games, only had 70 saves in those two games combined, and then gave up one goal and a 2-0 loss to St. Croix Valley, who is ranked second, and Black River, I think, is ranked sixth or fifth. I can't remember which, but so yeah, it was really good performances by goalies on the girls' side last week for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know if I don't even know if it's worth saying, but what the hell, I'm going to say it anyway. Shots on goal, lots of shots on goal is not really a goalie stat. It's an indication of how much better the other team is than your team. So to say our goalie had 81 shots doesn't mean anything. Yeah, it's a lot of shots, and she was very busy, but that's not a goalie stat. And the fact that, 72 saves is great, unless looking at 81 shots, well, then it's less than 90%. So, yeah, she was busy, she was bombarded, and she was probably knocking pucks in her sleep all night, but that doesn't really make good goalie stats.
No, it doesn't make for good stats, but I mean, if you could stop 72 out of 81, I give you a lot of credit. You got to be pretty tired by the end of that.
And I mean, it would have helped if that wasn't her only game of the week.
Right.
It's hard to give a goalie the player of the week when she gave up 9 goals in one game and didn't play any other games. So I don't know. That's just me. Um, I've argued goalie stats with people on this site for 25 years. Um,
You
I
win
don't know.
some, you lose some in those arguments.
Well, I mean, it very rarely does anybody win Player of the Week on a week where they've got one game to their name.
Yeah,
That
I would agree
usually
with
only
that.
happens like at the start of the season or a week where there's lots of cancellations or something like that. It just doesn't happen very often. The voting doesn't go that way.
Well, Junior, let's move on to the coach's top six, presented by Quench. You want to go ahead and take her from there and give us the D1?
Sure. We've got a new number one this week. Wausau West moves up 2 spots from third to first. Spash is still second. Hudson drops from first to third despite not losing any games. It seems the voters were not impressed by their 2-1 overtime win over Notre Dame Academy, who's had not a Notre Dame Academy like season this year. Madison Edgewood is still fourth. Neenah moves up 1 spot to fifth, and University School drops 1 spot to sixth. Those two are virtually tied in terms of points the last several weeks. So I don't think that means much. Also receiving votes in D1 were De Pere and Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about Hudson. I mean, they didn't lose any games, but boy, to drop 2 spots, that's kind of a tough one.
Well, they lost two. Was it not last week? The week before
The
they
week before
lost
last week, they lost 2 games in
to
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Yeah. They
Um,
haven't lost to a Wisconsin team yet.
Yeah,
They have
the
not.
one, I mean, I know they were, Minnesota teams and all that, but I mean, one of them was a 7-0 loss.
9-0.
Yeah, that's Gentry though. That's like one of those hockey factories over there. They take whoever they want. They get whoever they want. I don't know. I just think that's a lot. That's harsh, but I'm sure their coaches are probably happy they're not in the one spot anymore.
Well, I can tell you historically, Wausau West does not stay in the one spot very long. Looking over the polls for the last 10 years, um, Wausau West has a tendency to get into that spot and then do something to lose it right away. Uh,
Oh, so the Nina game on Thursday should be pretty good.
yes, it is. It is. It has been a very consistent pattern the last several years. West is perfectly happy being 2, 3, 4, but they hit that number one spot and then all of a sudden they lose. So maybe that'll be different now that Brian Brandt isn't the coach.
Right. You got a new coach, a new attitude. They're starting all new traditions.
Yes. So we'll
I
see
mean,
if that changes.
that was new, coaches have hair, you know.
I think part of the Hudson problem was that 2-1 win over Notre Dame Academy in overtime. Spash beat Notre Dame Academy 9-3, and Wausau West beat Notre Dame Academy 11-2. So look at those head-to-head matchups, and I guess people weren't happy with Hudson. Moving on to Division Two, Waunakee moved up one spot to the number one spot this week. McFarland dropped one spot to the number 2 spot. Northland Pines, Somerset, St. Mary's Springs, and River Falls are still 3, 4, 5, and 6. Also receiving votes were Amory, Menominee, and Sauk Prairie.
When
Yeah,
was the
Pines
last time?
is
When was the last time Wanakee was number one?
they were earlier in the year, weren't they?
Earlier in the year,
Yeah, it's
they're they've been
Chase Drake's team, right?
yeah
Yeah.
they bounce between Division 1 and Division 2 a couple times now, just
Yeah.
because they're like right on the bubble. They're like the smallest D1 team or the largest D2 team. So as teams get shifted and moved around, they bounce around.
I was surprised Somerset they stayed right at 4
Yep, they stayed at 4.
because they lost 2 games, but they played without like 7 varsity kids who Coach Gilkerson put on the bench for disciplinary reasons. He wouldn't specify to me what they were, but I thought with Ashland beating them and then losing again after that, I thought for sure that I would see them drop, but perhaps the word got out about that.
Yeah, there's been news lately,
Yeah,
disciplinary
I want to
issues.
just bounce back once to the Division One, where we dropped Hudson and we have West, Spash, and Hudson 1, 2, and 3. And on Sunday the coaches have said, well, we really don't know anything. It's Hudson got the number 1 seed, and West got the number 2, and Spash got the number 3 seed. So
It's the same
So
people who vote on our poll.
I know
I mean,
they're trying to
so
sandbag us.
well,
Menominee and
that
Amory are making pretty good pushes too in Division Two. They've both been playing really well as of late. It'll be interesting to see. I thought maybe Menominee might push their way in there. They've won 5 in a row, I think, and Emery has, I think, won more than that. Well, no, lost a couple, but I think they've won 10 of like their last 12. So they've been,
Yeah, Amory and Somerset are each the number 1 seed in their respective sections.
and
right.
Prairie finally getting a little bit of love. They're having a really good year, and that'll be interesting. They got the 4th seed, so it'll be interesting to see how they do in the playoffs.
Yep. Moving
all
on to
right.
the girls, it is the same as it was last week. Same teams in the same order. Bay Area is still unanimous number 1, followed by the St. Croix Valley Fusion, Eau Claire Area Stars, Lakeshore Lightning, Western Wisconsin Stars, and Black River Falls. I want to say Tigers.
Yes, that's right.
I don't remember if it's Tigers or Wildcats.
Black River Falls is the Tigers,
Yes, yeah, yeah. I don't think has the poll.
right?
Is it still like 2 or 3 weeks it hasn't moved, isn't it? I feel like
Yeah,
that's
it's pretty much the same the last several weeks.
yeah,
Also receiving votes this week, that part changes. Central Wisconsin, Fox Cities, and University School. We talked about them a lot
yeah.
kind of last week, Dan and I did, but Central Wisconsin Storm is statistically speaking the second best defensive team in the state behind Bay Area. Their problem is this they just don't have a lot of goal scoring beyond Jaden Yurkovsky.
Yeah, it's they went from I looked this up because I was like, gee, their scoring is really down from a year ago. A year ago, they were averaging over 5.19 goals a game when they head to the state tournament. This year they're averaging 2.5, so almost cut in half, scoring wise. But yeah, they're still Cami Flores having a really good year for them. She's really done a nice job and keeps them in every game. They've been, I think. I could be off on this, but I think they've been outshot in like 5 of their last 6 games, which is highly unusual for them also to be outshot by anybody. But Floor's done a really good job. The
So, and if you
Fusion
look
is a
at their
team.
last 6 games, they've allowed 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, and 1.
Yeah, they've been great defensively. Like I said, like four,
Dingy.
3 of the last 4. I think she's going to be there. She is their number one again, although Simonson, there doesn't seem to be a lot of drop off to her. But yeah, they've just haven't been putting the puck in the net like they did the past few years. But
They
Fox Cities is a really dangerous team, I think, with Mersaw. She can really score. It'll be interesting to see how they do in the playoffs. They got a new coach this year. So I think they went through a bit of a transition, getting used to a new coach, and I think Blake Hackbarth was pretty well loved by that program. So I think it was hard for them to move on from him, but they're playing pretty well right now. So yeah, it's there's a lot of good, should be a lot of great games coming up in 2 weeks here, 10 days, whatever it is.
Yeah, only twice this year has the Storm given up more than 2 goals. So that's a good
Is
run.
that all they give up? Is that all they give up is two? I mean, does
They've
anybody
given up
score?
they've given up more than 2 twice. They gave up 4 in a game against Superior on December 29th and 4 against Gentry Academy on January 10th. Otherwise, it's been 1, 2, or 0 every other game this season.
Wow.
And then they end
Okay.
their regular season this week against the best team in the state. So we'll see how that one looks.
Yeah, that'll be a rematch. That'll be interesting.
Well, speaking of interesting, we do have some pretty good boys and girls games of the week. Hey, look at that. Bay Area and the Storm. The girls game of the week on Thursday. Wow, that's a good lead up to that, guys. Good job. And on the boys' side, Nina travels over to Wausau West to take on the Warriors. A couple of pretty good games on the docket for games of the week.
Yeah, Brett and I will hazard the journey over to Marathon Park to watch that one. That should be good. Tough place to take pictures from, but that's his problem.
Yeah, that is not a good spot there, really. Our glass is not that clean.
I mean, shooting through even clean glass kind of sucks compared to getting above the glass and shooting down.
One of the things I noticed about here in Janesville with the new rink, they have the holes in the glass where you can stick a camera through and take pictures of. So that's kind of neat to have.
I was kind of surprised when I was talking to you about your rink because I'm going to be there in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
That that your 2 sheets are enough that you're not having people complaining about ice time because you've got the Jets, you've got Beloit College men and women, you've got Janesville boys and girls, you've got Milton boys, and then you have the youth program.
Yeah.
That's a lot of hockey in one building with 2 sheets.
Yeah, it sure is. And you know, you probably figure a couple of these couple of the user groups probably wouldn't be there if there wasn't that second sheet there.
And
So
Beloit College hockey is a product of Northland College closing, correct?
right.
Yes.
Northland closed and Beloit, like, we'll take them.
Yep, they
Now
did
they
it.
got a hockey team.
Everyone that would come, they took, yeah.
I liked I liked Northland College up there in Ashland. Um, it's kind of the school, North. It's kind of an environmental tree hugger type school. And the coach that was up there at the time that Bob and Theron were playing in that conference, the coach was an excellent recruiter. Then the kids would get up there and find out that none of the stuff that the coach promised ever came through in terms of, financial aid and all these other things. And then at the semester mark, they would leave, and it was hardly enough players to field the team for the second half of the season for Northland.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
notoriously great up until Christmas, and then they were just bad.
Yeah, because
So
everybody left.
all the Canadian kids went back home. That's what happened.
All right, guys, those are our games of the week. I see here, final thoughts section. Sectional seating is finished. That was all done yesterday, and next week we're going to talk about that one.
Next week we can do our like predictions and stuff like that. I just want to make a note on my weekly Tomahawk rant. That I spent a good portion of the afternoon figuring out how the big schools, I mean the big conferences, the Wisconsin Valley and the big rivers, how they had conspired to knock Tomahawk all the way down to a 9 seed. But then I look, and as the 9 seed, they're facing the number 8 team, Eau Claire, who beat them in that tournament in in that holiday tournament. So, I tried like heck trying to figure out a way how those guys, screwed Tomahawk. But I'm looking now. I look at the Eau Claire North schedule, and I looked at, Everest and Chippewa Falls, and it's like, yeah, it was hard to make a case that Tomahawk could have been above any one of those 3 teams. So I gave up.
Well, the argument should have been, well, it wouldn't have been. Tomahawk would have been the number 1 seed because they beat Pines twice. Um, that's what there should be. They should be the number 1 seed in Section 2 in Division 2 where they belong, God damn it.
There we go.
Well, and I'm not going to accuse anyone in that section of what you just said happens with conferences, but it does happen. I was sat in enough of those
Oh,
meetings.
yes, it does.
I sat in there for 30 years, and most of the time, when I got to East, obviously it was different, but when I was in Spooner, we were in a conference. And yeah, I've definitely seen that happen. And the stuff that goes on in some of the seating meetings and the stuff that goes on prior to the seating meetings, I mean, some of it's just, below the board and should not be happening. But for the most part, most of the coaches do their homework. They show up, they have reasonable charts put up when they put their votes up. But there's always I feel like every sectional, there's a guy when he puts his votes up, everyone just goes like, "What? What were you looking at?" And yeah, so it's not a perfect process. I don't think there is one. I don't know that the computer thing is any better. Um, I didn't honestly when I first started coaching, when you started the season, they told you who you're going to play in the playoffs. Like your sectional was set before you dropped the puck on your season. Like you knew all year who you were going to play your first game. It was just they rotated it and it was set. So I didn't even care. I'm like, if you're going to get to the state tournament, you're going to have to beat some good teams. Like, does it matter what order you beat them in? I don't think it does. So, but yeah, I've sat in some very interesting meetings, left some very angry for sure.
I had to seed squirts today.
That's That's got to be
You had to see Squirt Seas.
I did. Squirt Division 2 Cs. Got an email from Don Bradford at Waha. You guys are the teams in the tournament. Please send me your ranking for these teams. We'll seed the tournament. I'm like, all right.
Did you check the My Hockey rankings for Squirt C2s?
Yes, I did. I checked my hockey rankings and game sheet and looked at various games and stuff. And it
But you
was
It,
don't know yet where it all falls yet.
right. And like one of the teams is from one of the, regions over by the Minnesota border. So like half their games weren't in game sheet because Minnesota doesn't use game sheet the way Waha does. So their games weren't even in there. So like you have to look at my hockey rankings then, and sometimes they don't have all the games. It's just like, yeah, I had to rank Squirt C's. I'm like, all right,
I'm
where did you put your team?
sixth.
You sandbagging?
No, I think when the tournament seedings comes out, our C1 team will be first, and our C2 team, which is my team, will be eighth. I think that's where the other coaches will see
Oh, you're
seated.
going to the same tournament as your C1
Oh,
team.
we are because there's only Division One has separate C1 and C2 state tournaments. Division Two just has C. So both Everest and Washington County each have two teams going to the 2C state tournament this year.
I wonder what's the percentage of youth teams that get to go to a state tournament.
I think 8 of the 10 2C teams are will be in Janesville this year.
It's a lot higher than it used to be back when our kids played.
With the 4 divisions and how many how many tournaments there are now, it's a lot more than it used to be. I know that 6 of the 8 Everest youth teams, we have 4 squirts, 3 peewees, and a bantam. 6 of the 8 are going to state tournaments.
Wow, that's pretty good.
But if you look around, I mean, there's a lot of associations like that.
I didn't get a look at much of the Waha tournament stuff, but it's going to be interesting. We'll have to do like we do every year and kind of see who ends up where and what are you looking at in the next couple of years of high school. I mean, we've seemed to figure out the pattern a little bit. If you got a couple of pretty good Bantam teams, your next couple of years of high school could be pretty good.
I mean,
And
I'm
if your
cheering that,
Pee Wee teams,
in 2 years, I'm going to be cheering against my daughter's teams because peewees and girls state tournaments, I believe, are the same weekends as the high school state tournament. And
well, this year they're
I
not.
don't want to have to miss the high school state tournament to go watch hers if she makes one.
That's an interesting point because we convinced Waha to not hold any state tournaments on the WIA state tournament weekend after much badgering them and pleading and whatever, and they switched it for I think it was either 1 or 2 years, and then because our thought as the coaches association was like if some kids might want to come down and watch their high school team play if they're not in a state tournament. And when the WIA or when Waha didn't think that the WIA attendance went up, they ended it after it might have only been a 1 year.
I think it was just a 1 year thing.
The
It didn't immediately boost
Right.
attendance by 50%.
Right.
They said, well, yeah, you guys are sandbagging us.
Which was just ridiculous.
So it's peewees. All the peewee state tournaments are the weekend of the WIAA state tournament, and then girls 10U gold, silver, and bronze are that weekend. But squirts, bantams, girls 12U, and girls 14U are all on different weekends.
I wonder if that happens in Minnesota.
Well, Minnesota doesn't even have squirt state tournaments, so
Well, they're smarter than we are. And there's mite state tournaments too, right?
not in
Did they get rid of
Wisconsin, but some states still do that. Yeah.
Wisconsin doesn't?
Nope.
Did we at one time?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for
Yeah.
a long time.
Yeah.
for a long time.
Back when mites still played full ice hockey. They don't do that anymore.
Okay. Well, that's good. At least we got
Thank God.
right.
I mean, sometimes watching squirts play full ice hockey is kind of rough. Watching mites do it, it's just, I can't imagine what parents went through back in the day. That had to be so slow.
Good.
200 feet is a long way for a 7-year-old to skate.
Those poor little legs just a kicking. All right. Well, guys, next week we'll talk about the sectionals, get our predictions in, and get proven wrong once again, as it seems to happen.
Well,
Um,
technically, and we always seem to forget, technically, next week we're just talking about the regionals.
right.
So only the first two rounds. We're not predicting who's gonna win the section. We're just talking about for Division One, we're talking, two games at most. For Division Two and for girls, there's just one game. So, in fact, couple of in the girls division, a couple of teams will have buys, and we won't even be talking about them next week.
Yeah, the girls won't start till Thursday, and that'll be their
Yep.
all of the first games.
Right, but not all. Like I say, there are a couple of buys that won't even
Yeah.
have girls teams playing on Thursday.
Yeah, every section has at least one bye. The section one has two. Storm
Yeah.
and Superior both have a bye.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't go back and double check the numbers, but the in Division One, there was one section that had 12, two sections, or one section with 12, one section with 13, and two with 14. So I would think one of those 12s could have been shoved into the one that only had 12. I mean, one of those 14s could have been shoved into one that only had 12. I mean, two 13s and two 14s makes more sense.
Yeah, sections 3 and 4 each have 14.
I think the other ones don't.
Section 1 is 13 and 2 has 12.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else you guys want to comment about? Anything hockey wise? I know you guys
Got
don't
a
want to talk
junior
about the
hockey
Super
team.
Bowl.
Do you ever have any celebrity sightings there at the Woodman Center there, MJ?
Well, they get
Joe
Joe
Pavelski
Pavelski
would.
once
I
in
would
a
say Joe
while.
Pavelski doesn't count.
Okay.
He's
I
co-owner.
had the fabulous a couple weeks ago. I had the fabulous Farm Babe show up.
I don't know who that is.
She gives the ag reports on statewide on TV
Ah,
at noon. She showed up for agriculture night, which is always seems to be one of our bigger nights of the season. It's almost like a sellout. I don't know what it is, but the all the farmers want to come and watch hockey on that night. But yeah, the fabulous Farm Babe showed up.
I'll tell you the time I was
But
most
other than
amazed
that,
at a hockey game. It was either 19, it was 98 or 99. I was a senior in high school, and Bergler and I were coaching Anagos Pee-wees, and we went up to Lakeland to play a game against Lakeland, and looking over and during warm-ups, and like, I think that's Gary Suter. Yep, that's Gary Suter standing on their bench. Ah, it's like, yes, sir, Mr. Suter.
Yeah, he lived up there for quite a while.
I mean, his Jake Suter, the current Lakeland high school coach, was on that team. Um,
mhm.
that was his Pee Wee team. So that was pretty cool. And then my other one's not really a celebrity sighting, just a weird coincidence. I was at a Minnesota Wild game, um, maybe 2009, and I actually ran into the former Anago High School hockey coach Bill Thorson, who won the state tournament in '93 and was runner-up in '97. Like, just ran into him there, like, hey, coach, how you doing? And like, he remembered me. That was kind of fun.
I'm sure he's. What's the chances of it happening? But No, not this year. I'm sure there may have been some people that, come in, but I don't necessarily know unless somebody gives me a heads up.
Well, rumor has it that Gary Suter basically saved the Minocqua rink from foreclosure because they try to keep it, they try to have a lot of ice during the summer because they get so many people from Chicago area go up there, and they try to have camps and stuff, and it was costing them way too much money for to run the summer ice. But I think he bailed them out to the tune of several thousands of dollars.
It's
Oh,
possible.
I always liked Gary Suter. In my opinion, he's the best of the suitors.
Do you know the one, you talk about, people who show up, people who are, famous or something. Remember back about 15 or so years ago when the Jets first came to town, there was a team called I think it was Marquette. Yeah, it was Marquette. They were the from up in the UP. And one of the kids on the team, his name was Kevin Gibson from Grosse Pointe, Michigan. And it's funny how he looked just like Kirk Gibson because it was his son. And I always waited for Kirk to show up, and he never made one. But I actually did get to meet him once when I was over in Michigan at a showcase event. He was there. I was pretty nervous about shaking his hand because of
Was he
the
limping?
baseball history behind him.
This is the kind of thing where if you meet Kirk Gibson, you want him to be limping.
He
I believe they're the Marquette electricians.
no, it wasn't the electricians.
Oh,
Oh, I can't think of the name of that team. It was so long ago. I mean, that was like I said, the Jets are in like their 17th season now, and this was like the first or second season. Actually, it was the first. So no, I can't remember the name of that team, but it was kind of cool to run into him at an event when I wasn't expecting him, you know, anybody famous there. But for a couple games last year, we had one kid. His dad played for the San Jose Sharks. Kind of hoping that he would show up. Who's the guy? Not Pavelski, the other guy. Not Joe Thornton.
Those are the two.
Patrick Marlowe.
That's the oh yeah, super.
Patrick Marlowe. His kid played here for a couple games, and I was kind of hoping to run into him, but it didn't happen.
we used to see Bonnie Blair every once in a while. Her kids played for Waukesha.
Yeah, I bet her kids are good skaters.
They were fast.
Well, you guys gonna watch any Olympic hockey at all?
Have been
Have been. It started a
watching
while
the
ago.
women.
Great thing about, well, either working from home or being retired is you can have the Olympics on all day long because most of this stuff happens between like 8 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon here because that's when it's like
It's like about an
game
8 hour
time over
difference.
there.
You never want to see somebody get hurt during a hockey game, but I'm secretly hoping that somebody goes down during one of the games against Switzerland, so then I can ask, why aren't all those medics helping? Because they all look like they're dressed like the Red Cross.
Oh my goodness.
I'm a bad person.
Yes. Yeah, well, well then, yeah, his brother made the old joke. I don't know much about that Swiss team, but their uniforms are a big plus.
Oh my goodness. That's hilarious. Well, and on that note, guys, if you don't have anything else,
That's it.
that's it. Dan, you done?
I'm done.
Okay, guys,
No jokes.
let's go ahead and wrap it up. For Dan and the Berg family, I'm Mike Hammett. We'll try again next week on This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey.